Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning to all of you, and let's start. Okay. So I have started recording the lecture. Okay. So the last one and this one today, tomorrow, inshallah, I'll upload on YouTube, and I'll make a new playlist with the current semester name and share with you. Okay. So we'll now go further into our discussions and start a new chapter. We already covered introduction, and I think we have so far a fair idea, isn't it? We are not new to the subject or the topic management science or operations research. I mean, is there anyone in the class who is still facing problem in if somebody asks you about your understanding or in general knowledge on OR? So let's have some check first, okay, and then we will start. So answer it either by voice or on the group. Okay, I am asking you some questions to just check and give others a chance. Okay, so let me know, operations research and management science, are they same or different? What do you say?
The same.
The same. Okay, very good. The second question is, operations research or management science is will involve quantitative technique or qualitative techniques? Tell me, quantitative or qualitative? Okay, good. So no, you should not be. Fatima says both, but quantitative mostly. No, you should not be in any ambiguity. OR is pure quantitative method. I mean, that is the definition we saw in the last class, isn't it? So we should all, that's why, you know, I am just asking you a few questions. So we are all at, so all of you listen carefully. Management science, Bhus Amaliyat al Idariya, is a quantitative technique. Technique, yani it's a Kimmi or Adadi method. All right. Then ask you tell me one thing. Kimmiya, yes. Thank you, Ruba. Now, next question I want to ask you is, what is the main area of management where OR or management science will help? In which manager function will OR help us? Who will tell? Very good, mashallah, very good. But I think I forward your full name. Okay, Bella says making decision. Good. So you all know that we will use, you know, we can help in taking a use of OR, Bhus Amaliyat, in making decisions. So let's extend it further. Decision regarding what? Qarar lil lesh, yani best use of resources. Very good, Razan. Good. Ittakhaz qarar lil mawarid. So you all understand this, and I am thankful to the students who are translating. In fact, one student has already sent me the translation of the third lecture. I am very thankful to you, and I am uploading it all in the translation folder, so you can check the translation there. And also, we can do a little bit more if possible, that when I upload the YouTube lectures, if somebody can subtitle it in Arabic, then it will become a wonderful resource for all, for anyone in future also. Although this is not my specialization as such, but I enjoy, and the students make it much more interesting. So thank you very much. Okay, now let's move forward to our third lecture. This is our third week of the class. You already solved the quiz, and I am sure you all found it very easy. But the purpose was not to make you test basically, but the idea was to make you exposed to applications, and that was the general knowledge of applications in that video. But very good video, because it has come from a very authentic resource on OR. I am sure you must have enjoyed. The video quality is very good, sound and looks, and then the applications, the examples, and the duration of the video is also very good for students to concentrate on, didn't it? So you all enjoyed, and there are a lot of other videos on the same channel of OR. You can keep on watching. So in the video, we found that OR, or management science, after we learned about the history of management science, that it started from military, and then it was later in say after 1945 it was tested in business and other non-military operations, and the results were again good. So it became a very useful tool for managers to use the OR techniques to improve their decisions and operations. So we saw the application of OR in health, in manufacturing, in sports, in retail, almost every operation in the world. Even as we discussed in the first class and the last class also, that even in personal life, we can use operational research, where we have to choose between different alternatives, or we can say any decision that we take, we can use OR. Okay. All right. So again, I got some suggestions from the students in the last week, that if I give the detailed course lecture outline, then you will benefit more. So I found it a good idea to give you exactly from where we are discussing, although I will be using resources from other places also, but we should refer to the textbook for the main source. So I thank those students who suggested that I give you the exact locations in the textbook from where I am picking up the contents. Okay, so here are the 3 topics we will be covering in this lecture. I have divided this chapter into 2 parts because it's a big, and we need to spend time on this chapter, the process, how it works, how management science works actually, because once we understand the process, we will be able to apply it in different tools, because the steps or the algorithm will remain the same, only the tools will change. Sometimes we will be using transportation method, sometimes we may use simulation, decision tree analysis, etc. And some of these names you heard in the video on the applications, right? You heard about linear programming, simulation, modeling. You must have heard about queuing theory in hospital. So these are, we are getting acquainted, we are getting familiar with the tools, and that is our goal number 1 in the course. As we said, we want to know as many applications as possible of a management science, and we second goal is to learn how it is done, and that is not we are not doing that at a very advanced level. We will be just trying to learn the basics, and then you can carry on and develop yourself as a OR specialist if you will wish to in your later higher studies. So what we are going to learn, number 1, we will see what are the steps in problem solving using management science. Number 2, so page number 2 and 3 in the textbook, this exact topic is there. If you wish, although I told you that the video on YouTube, this lecture recording and the slides are enough, and any supporting material if I give you, like I have given you a group assignment for this week, those will be sufficient for you to prepare for the exam. But I know I find many students to be very interested in learning and enjoying more. So what we will do, we will also refer to the textbook to see and understand if there is anything new or something which we don't understand. Okay, so number 2, model construction. What is model? How is it constructed? What is the importance of model in management science? That is the second topic we will discuss today. And third are case studies. So we will take the discussion further to the case studies. We understood some applications in the video, but those were very general, it's in very brief they described. We will see the problems and applications in more detail in the case studies, and I'll explain to you at the end how we are going to do that. But 2 case studies, in fact 3 are there, but 2 are from the first chapter. So you can refer to page number 6 and page number 19 in the book, and you will see the two examples. One is of Hotel Marriott, and the other is of a hospital in USA, in a university in USA, and there are rest which are there uploaded in the Blackboard for the groups to solve in this week. So the first topic to be covered in this lecture is about the process. What is it? Management science, what is it and how does it solve? So we already know that management science or operations research is a logical, systematic approach to problem solving. It's a quantitative, we already know that. It uses numbers, and the decisions are taken on the basis of numbers. Logical is what? Logical means what? Logical means anything which we can explain. We can, or you have any other better, first of all, let's do a translation of the word logical. What do we say it in a normal? If you have another mantaka, yeah. So mantaka, there is some reason we can explain. We can tell someone how we took a decision. That's the first part. The second is it's a systematic approach. We cannot, there are some steps we have to learn. 5 steps are there in solving a problem using management science. Any problem that comes to us, okay, thanks all for translating, Ruba, Abrar, Billa and Fatima, thank you. So one part is that it can be explained, there is a logic behind solving the problem. The second is that it is systematic. As we discussed in the last class regarding the difference between uh, what quantitative and qualitative, we discussed that in qualitative there is not much system, there may be one tool. There are, yeah, of course there are tools in the qualitative methods also, like there is a very famous tool called Delphi technique. Delphi, you have heard about Delphi? Delphi. Have you heard about it? Have you heard the name of Delphi? It's a qualitative method. Let me just use the pen now. I said, Delphi is a qualitative method of deciding, of making decisions, of thinking on something. You must have heard of it in some of your courses. No. So Delphi, you can search for it. Maybe this will become your outside, as I said, some outside assignments. So what is Delphi? Delphi technique, they take expert opinion. So a manager doesn't know what to decide. She has to take a decision. What she does, she asks the question from a lot of people, experts in the field. Suppose she is a supply chain manager and she has to decide where to start the store. As we saw in the case of Asda, she has the same problem and she wants to know where to start the store. Now what she does, she goes for a qualitative method. She is not knowing much about any quantitative technique. So she goes for a Delphi method. She identifies a few experts from the field and then she asks them, tell me, where should I start the store? And based on their opinions, she finally takes the decision. But as we saw in qualitative decision making in the last class, it will vary from person to person. So another manager comes, she may be taking a different decision. Her approach will also be different. She may be using the same Delphi, but she may be using it in a different way. In management science, we have to follow the rules that we learn in the class or we learn in the proper curriculum. Okay, so we use it in a systematic manner, and that is why it's interesting. And but at the end of the day, after we complete the course and we start applying, when we go into the application phase, we will see that there will be three types of operations, three decision making areas. We all know that, right? We know the reality that there may be three decision making types. One where we can use pure quantitative, one where we cannot use quantitative at all. We have to use only qualitative. There is no way, there is no number, there is nothing. We must use quantitative, and some in which there will be mixed, where we have to use quantitative, but ultimately we decide on the basis of some judgment also. So there are three types which will appear in a manager's life. Some decision making will involve numbers, some will have to involve only text, and the others will have to use both, mixed. Okay, so it's a systematic approach to problem solving which closely parallels what is known as the scientific methods. If I tell you, if I give you another word for scientific, although means I'm just giving you by myself, you don't look it in the book or find it technically. I'm just giving it for ourselves. Is this word right? Mutakarrir. What does it mean? Does it mean repetitive? Or there is another word for repetitive? What do you say? Mutakarrir. Okay. Some students are leaving the group. Who are these? They are from other groups, huh? Okay. So, mutakarrir, repetitive. Why do I say this scientific? Because if I use the same tool, suppose I use linear programming and I use simplex method, or I use the graphical solution method. When I use that method, the results remain the same. The results come to be the same. That is why it's a scientific method. And there are other more technical definitions. We are not going to deal in that. So, management science process is logical, systematic, and scientific. Let's move forward. So this is from the book, page number 3. You can find this model of figure of the process of management science. So how many steps are there? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. For memorization, it's always a good tool to use numbers. So we have step number 1, step number 2, step number 3, step number 4, step number 5. And these are some things we should try to memorize here in the class itself, so that we don't have to again bother ourselves by memorizing again for the exam. So there are 5 steps, and mind you, I am going to check after I finish the discussion. I'll ask you about each of these steps. Okay. So you see, first step is observation. Now, first of all, we are dealing with business operation. Our task is to take a decision regarding improving the operation, or starting a new operation, making it better, making it more efficient. That is a problem. We are not concerned with the main problem right now. We are taking it as a general operations problem. Each student in the class is clear with what operation is. We don't need to explain again. Each student means kullu talibat, and not even a single student should say that if somebody asks you the example of operation, you don't know what business operation is. It is the activity taking place. So you can refer to the first chapter, first lecture, and you will see the definition of operations and the examples. So the first step in starting the solution is to observe the operation. And why do we observe? We observe the problem to see, like, can you relate it with some example that we saw in the history of war? That the British Army, what they did, they observed the problem. There was something going on in the sea, the ships were being fired, so that they had to solve the problem. So before you solve the problem, we have to observe. Then after the observation, and observation is a very technical word, so you need to go and find more details on this, what observation really means. Observation is different from seeing. How? You see something and you observe something. Is there any difference? What is the Arabic for observation and seeing? Mulahaza is what? Al-mulahaza is observation. Okay. And what is seeing? Basira? Muraqabah. And what is the difference between these two? Ruya, yes. Ruya, Muraqabah, Mushahada. Yeah. Is there any difference between these two? What is the main difference?
Observation, you have to be more focused on.
Very good. Observation is more focused. We have a goal for observation, isn't it? We go with some goal. In seeing, we are not clear, what we are going to see. We may not come up with any data or input, but in observation we are trying to take some inputs. In case of research methods also, we have a method called observation method, where the researcher will look at the customers, their behavior, and record the behaviors. That method is also very useful and very much popular in research, in marketing research or business research. So observation is focused. Yes, good. Now let's go to the second one, and seeing is not so focused. So focus means we are looking for some inputs regarding our problem, business operation. That business operation, we want to break it down into parts. We want to see how it is going on, how the machine is working, how the person is working, and then go to the next place. The next step is to define the problem. Define the problem exactly, because that's the most important thing for a manager to do. So, and that's why a student is known by the questions she asks, isn't it? The questions tell how intelligent the student is, because you will see that the higher you go, the more you read, the more you become more knowledgeable, your questions become more crisp, more objective, and that is what the managers also do. The more and more they observe the problem, the more and more they see the parts of the problem, they are able to define the problem. Now I tell you one story, a short story about a very known consultant in the world, which is called McKinsey. They perhaps have a, yes, very good. What is the problem exactly? That is problem definition, as Abrar has written. Have you heard about this name, McKinsey Corporation? They have a book also, very famous book called The McKinsey Way. It was written by people who worked for McKinsey. The McKinsey Way, you can find it. It's a very good read for business students, and if you get time, some PDF copies are also available on websites, free websites. In this book you will see how McKinsey works with its clients. So what they do, why do people go, why do companies go to consultants, business consultants or management consultants? Do you know what are management consultants? Yeah, what are they? What do they do exactly? Give advice, very good. Or we may say, they solve the problem of the companies. If the company is not able to solve the problem itself, they go to consultants to advise. So McKinsey is a very prominent name. There are other also like KPMG, PricewaterhouseCoopers. They are accounting firms, and they do the Ernst and Young. These are some of the names which are very popular. They solve the problems of the company. McKinsey is a very prominent name, and in the book that I just wrote on the screen, The McKinsey Way, you will read a good detail on how they work. One of the things why I am discussing, it's related to us, the second step, problem definition. When the companies go to this consultant, they understand the problem in as detail as possible, and then they reframe the problem in their own words. They will try to redefine the problem in their own words, and that is what a consultant or the scientific process of problem solving is, to write down the problem in detail as objective as possible. And when you are able to write the problem very objectively, then the solution can be done. There can be a solution. But if somebody comes to the manager and says, or manager wants to know how to increase the sale. Now this question, how to increase the sale, is a very vague question, isn't it? It's a very vague question. If the boss, the CEO, tells the marketing manager, I want to increase the sale. Now the manager, and that is how it happens in companies. The companies, the managers have to go through steps. So the first step is to understand the problem very well. So what the manager has to do, he or she must define the problem as accurately and objectively as possible. Problem should be defined. Once the problem has been defined, so let me just give you some hints here. We will come to it later in the slides. That problem definition means what? We are able to divide the problem into its parts. So suppose the manager says, I want to increase the sale. What does it mean? Sale means the number. Okay. Then where do you want to? I mean, this is just a hypothetical thing I am doing. I am trying to break the problem into numerical parts. First is the number. How much do you want? And where will that figure come from? That is what we have to do. Where do you want to increase the sale? In entire region or in a particular region? And this way, there will be several numerical parts that will come out from the formulation of the problem. Once these numerical parts have been identified, now it will be easy for the manager to use the tool. If it is management science, we will go to the model construction. If it is any other technique or tool he is using, she can go to that step. But the problem definition means dividing the problem into its numerical parts. For management science process, the numerical parts, we identify the variables, the parameters, the constraints, the objective. All of these we are able to identify the numbers from the problem. Then the third step is construction of the model. Now we will learn this now shortly in much more detail. So we wait for the slide to come, but remember the step. The third step is construction of the model. Once the model has been constructed, the fourth step is find the solution. So suppose I tell, I have given 10 chocolates to student A and 11 chocolates to student B. How many total have I given? So what should I do? I'll simply, the problem given to the student is to find how many total has been given. So what should I do? I know the number, I know the problem, I have to find how many total. What tool should I use? I should use a plus, add, and I get the answer 21. So this means this becomes the full problem written in the form of a model. If it has become a equation or a relationship between two different numbers, 10 and 11. Why did we add? Because the problem said, tell me how many total did we distribute. So for that I had to add it. That's a very basic math, but why we are taking such a very basic example? Because that is what model is. Model is to, because why, by looking at the model, I also when we start, I thought how to explain this. So when you read more and more, you will see the best way to explain is to tell a very simple example, that when I get the numbers and you tell me the problem, now I have to define that problem in numerical form. So the problem is 10, 11 and total. This is the problem. What is the total? So for that, what I have to do? I have a mathematical operation called add. I use that mathematical operation and find the solution. Now, once the solution has come, I can decide. So, suppose I had to choose between two suppliers, as we saw in the last class. I used a decision tree analysis method. I got two solutions. I know from the decision tree that this is the higher value. I can now choose. So, then comes the last step, which is the implementation step. Now, as you see, the two steps, model construction and solution, are written with management science techniques, but the other three are outside, because these are the two areas where we will typically use the tools we learn in management science. Although the process is complete from 1 to 5, it is the process of taking the decision and applying management science, but the tool which are available will be applied here. Once the problem has been defined, then we will decide which tool to use, whether it will be transportation method or queuing theory or decision tree or simulation or probabilistic techniques. Any of these tools can only be applied when we know what the problem is and it has been converted into a model. So, you all have completed research method. Is it have you taken the course Buhus, Turk Buhus? Is it over for you or is still to come? Because both the courses till this point are very similar. You know, it's a very close relationship between the research methodology. Okay, you are taking it this semester. Good. So, you will see that there is a very close relationship between research methods and operations research till the time we reach model construction. After the model construction, you know, in research methods, can you tell me, just guess, I know, just guess what tools are applied there, what is the basic type of tools we apply in research methods? Quantitative tools. Research can be both qualitative and quantitative. In quantitative, what do we apply basically in research methods to find a solution? Here we are using the mathematical techniques, the OR techniques. In research methods, what tools we use? Test the theory. Yeah, very good. Test the theory, but how? How do we test the theory? There, you know, what type of tools are used? Just give me a word. Use variables. Good. Use variables. More. Give me more. Give me one word. Research. Okay. I am giving you a letter. Okay. Look here on the screen. It starts with S. There is a special type of maths called, it starts with S. So, we use mainly those tools. What is that? Can you now, anybody can guess what is the type of mathematics where we, you know, what we do? We generalize on the basis of a sample. We take a small sample, we apply the tool and tell, okay, this is the solution, this is the answer. What is that called? Percentage and chi-square test, ANOVA, t-test, all of these belong to which type of mathematics? Qualitative. Okay, no, let me tell you. It is, these are, you know, in research methods you will use statistical techniques. Statistical. If I am not wrong, this is called AHSA, isn't it? Statistics. Good, Sumaya and Razan. Statistical is called AHSA. AHSA, yes. So, what do? We use, after this level, after you have defined the model, as all of you rightly said, I mean, you are following it well, mashallah, good. So, you are understanding that course very well. Variables are there, then you connect the variables. What is the relationship between the variables? That connection between the variables result in the model. So till here, we are the same. We are the same in operations research, and in research methods we look the same. But after this, we differ. In our course, we use management science techniques, which we'll be learning, and today and in the next class, we will be making ourselves familiar. In the research methodology, we go and use statistical techniques, like, means I don't want to go into more details of that. You will keep on learning there. Okay, so after the appropriate tool, what is appropriate tool? Selection of the tool is very important. Yani a person is sick. Now the doctor will examine her and he will prescribe the right medicine, and then the problem will be solved. If you give the wrong medicine, for example, there is a network problem, and we use queuing theory, then the result will be wrong. It will not be able to solve the problem. Similarly, we have to find the effect in research methods. We have to find or test the effect of one variable on the other, like for example light on the performance of the workers. This is, and you are using t-test. The t-test is not sufficient or good, the right tool to solve the problem. There we have to use the regression method. So in the case of OR also, that is what we at this level want to learn. That is our goal, to know as many tools as possible and where are they applied, how they are applied. That is something we are only doing at a basic level. We are not going to do at an advanced level. That is your task to do in the future, in your advanced levels. Okay, so after the solution comes the outside the boundary of the management science, that is implementation. Now in the implementation, as you see, it's beyond the task of the management science specialist to make the solution implement, because it is now decision of the manager whether to use that solution or not. She may use the exact, or she may apply her qualitative also. As I said that there are three ways decision can be done. It may be pure quantitative or qualitative or mix of both. So depending upon the nature, now the manager will decide how she is going to apply the solution. If we look at, if we convert that step into a diagrammatic form and give some description, you can see formulation of the problem means defining the problem. Modeling, in if we define it more precisely, means the designing or arranging of the factors, and you rightly said it is called variables. Yes, it is being recorded. Yes, I am recording it. I'll upload it on the group, on the YouTube, and share the link with you. So let me just check if it is. Yeah. Okay. So there are 5 steps: the formulation of the problem, modeling, analysis, solution, implementation. Okay, so you all understood this. Let me have a quick check with you. Are you ready to answer some questions with what we discussed so far? Okay, so let me go to the next slide and then ask you some questions. Okay, so how many steps are there? Give me number of steps in the management science process. 5. Good, Razan. Then who will tell me what is the step number 3? Step number 3, Thalith. modeling. Okay, then who will tell me in which step we arrange the variables? Very good, modeling. Then in which step we identify the variables? This is a tricky one, because if you understood the lecture carefully, you would have got the answer. In which step we identify the variables? 3. Second step. Are you asking question from me or answering? Tala, Ruba, yes. Second step, good. So in the formulation of the problem, that is what we do. We identify the variables. Okay. One more question. True, false. Okay, yes, no. Management science will only give the solution or also implement the solution. What do you say? Both will only give the solution? Yes, Fatima is right. Management science, we will use the tool scientifically and get a solution, but if it will be implemented or not, that is not the role of management science as a technique. Management science will give a solution, and then comes the implementation, which again is the decision of the manager. Okay. So let's move forward. Now, as we see, observation and defining the problem. If you read the book, you will see, they have mentioned that observation and defining the problem is comes already to the management science specialist, and they will start from the modeling. So in the textbook, they have focused mainly on the 2 steps, modeling and the solution. Modeling and the solution. And these are the most important steps, because once the model is created, who is implementing? Manager is implementing. Any manager, like marketing manager or HR manager or anyone, the objective of the manager is to increase the sales or increase the productivity. Based on that, she uses the management science technique, gets the answer, and then decides whether she is going to implement or not. Okay, so that one part is clear, the process of management science with 5 steps. Now let's come to the next important part of today's lecture, that is model. So it's important to know first what is a model. It's very important to know what is a model, because we don't exactly know. We must have heard, but we have to be very clear again what it is actually, what a model is, how is it defined, and so we are able to use it in management science easily. A definition given in our book is that it is an abstract representation. I've already got the translated version of this chapter by some student. I have not checked the name so far, but I'll upload it in the translation. It is an abstract representation of an existing problem solution. As we saw in the British Army case, what did they do? They simulated, or the first case modeled, and from there we get some hint that modeling means that we bring the problem inside the controlled conditions. Controlled conditions. Normally in science, ulum, physics, chemistry, biology, medical science, here this is very common that we do experiments in the laboratories. We control the temperature, we control the conditions, and it's a very common thing. But in management science, since it involves not just materials but also human beings, We are more into the social science, ulum ijtimaiya or ilmun nafs, those type of areas. So we are not so familiar because most of our courses deal with human beings, strategy, etc. We are not so familiar, but still it is very much a part of our life, of a manager's life, to solve problems scientifically using the mathematical techniques. So here, when we say model, model is an abstract representation of an existing problem situation. Because suppose where do we normally use the model most commonly? In buildings. An engineer, the engineers who are responsible for making buildings. So what they do, they get a problem that this is a piece of land and you have to construct a building here. What she will do? She will take the measurement of the land from all dimensions, and then where do they make the map or the blueprint? On a paper, isn't it? On a paper or a 3D model, and that model will serve as a tool for the engineers and workers to build the ultimate or the final building, the real building. So model is very important to solve problem because it gives a finer view and controlled view of the problem. So what is it? It is an abstract. What is abstract? Does it mean real or virtual? Abstract means what? Real or virtual? Yani man-made or real? Abstract means virtual. Man-made, we make ourselves. You take a paper and you draw something, you have to decorate your room. So what you do? You first want to make a picture of the room on the paper and then decide how to make it, isn't it? How to put things here and there. So that is called a model, an abstract representation of an existing problem situation. Now models can be of two main types. Models can be of two main types. One is an pure abstract model. Pure abstract. Pure abstract means you write something like x square plus y square is equal to 2xy plus x plus y whole square. X square plus y square plus 2xy is equal to x plus y whole square. This is a model, but who can tell what is it? Nobody can say by looking at it what is x, what is y, what is this. But when we make a picture like this, there is this is the land and there are some this. Here it still gives some idea that this is a picture of something. It may be unreal picture, it is still an unreal picture, but somebody can make out something. So thus this type of model which are physical, or they show some real picture of the larger thing like the land or the building or something, it is called physical model or iconic model. But such models where we cannot see anything from the model written, these are called abstract model, the mathematical models, where the model doesn't give any picture, but it is a model. It describes the problem. Both of them describe the problem. This physical model also and the mathematical problem also, model also. So, but in our case, in management science, what type of model do we use? What is the guess? In the management science, we use mathematical models, not the physical, not at all. We don't use the physical model. We don't make pictures. We convert our problems into mathematical models like equation. So, but for the knowledge sake, we must know that the model can be physical or can be abstract. It can be physical, yani which can be seen like a picture, sora, or a clay model, a 3D model or a 2D model, or on the other side, on the other extreme, the model is pure abstract. Now, I have not yet received the Arabic word for abstract. Give me the word for abstract. Unreal, abstract representation. What do we call it in Arabic? Abstract. One abstract means summary. Namuzaj. One student is saying something. Can you repeat again? Tarh. You mean this?
Yes, abstract means tarh.
Have I written correctly? Tarha.
Yeah.
Okay. So you understood that this is unreal virtual reality. Virtual reality is very famous now. You all know virtual reality games and virtual reality films. We have a camera and we see something. These are unreal, isn't it? These are all imaginative. So this model can be physical or mathematical or pure abstract. What does it do? It is a functional relationship that includes variables, parameters and equations. So a mathematical model will include the variables, parameters, equations, etc. We will see shortly. But it is clear, model is a representation of the reality. How does it look like? Let us look here. See, if I want to understand, this is not from our book, okay? This is from somewhere else, but it is a very good understanding of the model. So, this was the sea, where this is the entire sea, this full circle is the entire sea where the British Army was facing the problem. In this entire sea, the problem was being faced, but the scientists, it is not possible for the scientists to cover everything, to take the information from the entire sea. So, what will they do? They will identify a piece of sea which is the main focus of the problem. In research methods, what do we call it? Suppose this is you are 100 students, but it is not possible to ask each and every student. I just take the opinion of 20 students. Anybody knows in the class what is this called, taking 20 from 100? Is abstract synonym for prototype? Yes, you are right. Abstract is close to the model abstract is close to prototype. You are right, but they are different technically, but at a fundamental level they are same. Now tell me the question that I am asking. There are 100 students, not possible for me to ask each of them, so I just take the opinion of 20, and on the basis of this 20, aina sample, very good, aina or sample, good. This is the same. So you have to understand this, that in the case of the research methods, there is a population, there is a number of people, we take the sample from there. In the case of operations research, there is an operation going on. So in the case of operation, again we have to take a sample, but the taking of sample is different here compared to the research methodology. So here what happens, in the case of British Army, the problem was in this sea. I don't remember the name of was it Pacific Ocean or what? I don't remember the name. So in that the piece of water, the ships were being shot. Then they got the task to improve the situation. What did they do? They had to study the problem. So they identified the part of the sea which was feasible for them to study. So this small part in white, this one, they took out and studied very closely, and from there they took out, and you see this is a which shape is, if I ask you, just imagine, listen to my question carefully. I am asking, there are two shapes, one this one and the other. Which one reflects a structure, more structure, which you can say that this, if I say this is a problem and this is a problem, which is a structured problem, this one or this one? By looking at the shape, if I say this is A and this is B, which shape represents a structure, a structured problem? The rectangular. Why? Because it's a clear boundary, very straight clear boundary, we can measure it. So, I mean, I am just doing it at a hypothetical level. We are not going to measure a model like this, but by looking at this picture, we can say that the problem inside was unstructured, and you must have listened to it in the video, isn't it? In the last part of the video, the student was telling that in operations research, the biggest task is to convert unstructured problem into structured. Do you remember this? Did you notice, or you can recall? Isn't it? The student was saying that in operations research or management science, the nature of the problem is unstructured. The mathematics that you get is unstructured. Like here, the scientists don't know what is the structure, how to solve the problem. So, in order to solve the problem, we must convert this problem into a structured problem, and when we do that, but still the fact is, we will conclude now by saying the fact is that this is unreal. This is unreal. You understand? This is the real and this is unreal. So, what does that mean? That there is a probability, ihtimal of some mistake, isn't it? We know that there is a chance of mistake. Do you agree? This is the real, this is the real. Then from this we take a small sample and we make a model. We are then solving the problem. So, in model, whenever we convert something from 100 to 20, it's a possibility that you say, I am just giving you an example, don't relate with OR, just giving an example to make you understand what a model is actually. So, suppose what happens, I ask 20 students of the class out of 100, do you like Pepsi? All 20 say yes. So, what does that mean? 100% of the class like Pepsi. Now, what is the possibility that there are 80 still left, and this is a huge population, out of this 80, even if 10 do not like, if I missed out 10 students who don't like Pepsi, what happens? My result will be flawed. That is plus minus that we learn in research. The same is here. So, in the OR or in the problem solving, when we make a model, there is a chance of mistake also, but that is plus minus of so less, it has been tested and tested, and it has been now confirmed that the chance of error is 0.5%, 5% or 1% or 10%, which is acceptable. Even if you make that mistake, your solution or the decision will be not going to make you suffer too much. It will be still within the reach. So, a model is an abstract representation of the reality, as we are seeing here. It's unreal, and you gave the word, what was the word? Tamsil, abstract. What did you say? Abstract. Okay, tamsil. Then the second is that the model is a structured form of the problem. Then the third reality that we understand is that, who will tell, most of the business problems will be coming to us in an unstructured form or structured form. I mean, will the problem come in the form of x square plus y square, or it will come in a unstructured? Very good. All of you understand this? Most of the business problems like marketing, HR, the problems that you will see this week in the case studies will come in which form? In this form, in the unstructured form. And what we have to do, we have to observe this, go to find the model, and then after we have created the model, we can apply the management science technique. So, you understand the process again, the 5 steps. This is where the second step is. This is the most important step, to make the model. And the model is in our model. Is the model unreal? Yes, the model is unreal. It's not real. If you make a picture of the land and make a building, the 3D, is it real? It's not real. It is unreal, but it is measured. It is a reflection of the reality. Like here, it is the sea. But when we convert into a model, we have the equation or we have the picture, and then we are making the adjustments. So, the model is unreal. Give me more example, please. Okay, let me give you one more example. I'll show you. I removed it from my previous slide in the last class. I'll just show you. Then I think it will be much better for you. Let me show you this. I removed it because I felt it is not so easy. Now, let's look at this picture first, because we have to complete this slide today, this presentation. This is the model, mathematical model for management science. This is the equation: maximize or minimize objective function subject to constraints. Okay, this is a model. Is this, what is it? Is it a, it's a model for a business problem. Any business problem, when we would like to solve mathematically using management science, then it has to be converted into this form. You are getting me? You have to convert any business problem to solve into this model. And now, since we have already covered what model is, we know that this is a mathematical model which is reflected in the form of abstract thing like equation. But what about any other form? Is there any other form? So, I will show you something. Let me just, yeah, okay, let me show you this. This is the previous semester slide. I changed it completely. Okay, look at this. Are you seeing this picture? What is it? Any guess what this picture is? Is it a real masjid? Model of the masjid, very famous masjid, perhaps in Kazakhstan. I downloaded it for the last semester to show. It's a model of a masjid to be built. Like there are so many masajid being built. First, what they do, the engineers make a model. After this model has been created, how have they made the model? All passing through the same stages, this stage of there is a land. From that land, they will take up the measurements and then divide that into bring that into their paper, or in the 3-dimensional. There are so many softwares today to create the 3-dimensional picture, and then they start building. Okay, so they got this piece of land, and now they have to build a model. So, what they do, they create the actual premise, then outside land where the trees will be there, how people will walk, etc., etc. What type of a model is this? This is a physical or abstract model. What do you say? Model is abstract, yani unreal, but two types of model are there. One model which we can make out, oh okay, this is a model of a masjid, and there is another which we just saw in our case. This is also a model. So, which gives a meaning, which we can make out. Okay, this is a model of a masjid, and we say that this is a model of an operation. Can you make out anything by looking at this model, that this is a model of price operation? No, because this is an pure abstract model. So, in management science, yes, of course, In management science, the model is abstract. It is in the form of mathematical or functional relationships. Between whom? Between variables and numbers, and there is some relationship between them. So, model is clear to all of you. We have covered the process, we understood the model. I mean, I had to go into some more detail of model, although it was not so much required, but I just wanted to take you from the basic, so that you have an idea of what model is actually and where management science model fits in. Otherwise, we could have simply gone to this, but I thought this is important to show where this is. So, you understand what a model is. Model is the representation of the problem. Okay, all of you clear? So, you will take a quiz next week on this chapter. So, we will see how much you understood. So, keep on reading. Very good. This is a model. Good, mashallah. This is a model. Are you seeing in the group that I don't know who? Virtual model example. Yes, there are blueprints. This is a virtual model. Very good. Okay, so let's go some more detail and quickly try to come to the second part of the model, the components of the model of management science. So, first of all, how do we write there are some letters we use generally. Suppose it is Z. Okay, listen carefully, just 10 more minutes, I will stop soon. Z is a very important letter that we use, English alphabet that we use in capital generally. Then variables may be in the form of, normally it is a very common practice to use variables with X, Y, Z, otherwise any A, B, C, etc. Then there is these two. I mean, we already know that these two together are called, this is maximum, this is minimum. In together, what do we call it? A one word that shows both maximum and minimum. What is that word? No, it starts with O, and it means maximizing profit, also can be an objective, minimizing the cost or wastage, the upper and lower bound. But there is a special word which is very important in management science and in management in general, because management is a discipline where we face both the problems. We have to increase or decrease also, both functions can be there. Okay, let me just wait for one or more two answers, then I will tell you. Maximum, maximizing or minimizing, there is a common word for both. So, it is called optimizing. Okay, note down this, optimizing, and you heard this word in the video, and in the past I think we did discuss this, optimizing. I'm sorry, I wrote it this way. It means, optimizing means, it covers both increase of profit. My target is to increase my profit from the operation, that is also optimization, and to reduce the wastage is also an optimization. Okay, so both are optimization. Now, there this function, this is called Z is called either maximize or minimize. This is called objective. So, in OR model, in the management science, any problem, the formulation of the model, the creation of the model will have first the objective, what it is. So, it may be profit maximization, it may be cost minimization, it may be sales maximization, it may be wastage minimization, whatever, but normally, the problems that we will deal in will generally cover two, mostly the profit and the cost. So, z is the objective function, clear? This is the objective function, and objective means what? Hadaf, or it is the goal. Then there is something written here, subject to constraints. So, what is constraint? We discussed in the last class and the previous one. What does it related to? What is it related to? Constraints. Who will tell? Constraints is limit on something. So, what is limited in an organization? You remember? What is in?
Resources.
Very good, mashallah, good. So, resources are limited in any organization. We have agreed on it and we know it very well by now. These resources are called constraints. So, any operation that we do, whether it is making something, whether it is hiring, recruiting, training, any of them, we need resources. These resources are limited. If there is no limit, there is no need to waste time on these exercise of learning management science or taking a class on business. But we know that there is a constraint, there is a limit on the resource, and whatever target we get, whether it is to maximize the profit or minimize the cost, we have to do it subject to the constraints. That means subject to the constraint of resources. So, this is clear. Gradually, when we go to the next chapter, when we start with linear programming, etc., it will become clear and clear. But today our objective is to learn the parts of the OR model. Okay, so in OR model, we will get something called variables and constants. Variables are what? They are the symbols used to represent an item that can take on any value or change. So, why do we write x square plus y square? What is, and normally where do we use in maths? We use it in algebra, the values that keep changing. Why do we use this x and y? Because it can be 1, 2, 3, anything, it can be 4, 5, 6, anything. And why we have written it this way? Because it is a model. Now, we can simply say, if I give you the value of x is 1 and y is 4, we can easily find the value, isn't it? 1 square plus 4 square. So, 1 plus 16 is equal to 17, we got the answer. So, this is the model. In model, the thing is, we find a solution. When we fit the variables there, we get the answer. So, a variable is a symbol in OR model used to represent anything that changes value. Okay. So, in the case of management science model, there are two types of variables. One is dependent and the other is independent. Now, I write this down again, z is equal to x plus y. These are two variables and z is the objective. Suppose it is maximization. I mean, do not go into details of what these variables are, but just look at these. What I mean to say is that the profit is equal to profit from x and profit from y. These are two products the company is selling. Now, who will tell me which is independent variable and which is a dependent variable in this? Can you just make a guess? I have to find out the profit. Now, profit is what? The profit from x and profit from y. So, which is a dependent variable and which is z is a dependent variable. Excellent, mashallah, good. Fatima, I think, is more inclined towards, and then the second one also, Bella is also saying the same, and we got a more detailed one by Abrar. Z is dependent, tabe, and x is independent, mustaqil. Okay, you got the idea. Dependent is, if our translation is right, let me write it here, tabe, and this is mustaqil. Okay, so we understood that in OR model, see, we are not going into very detail right now. We will take it up in the model construction in linear programming later. But today, you know, we are trying to learn the parts. You already know them in research methods, in mathematics, you already know them, but we are just revising. So don't take it too seriously, just take it lightly. We are learning the parts, you already know them. So a variable is something. Variable is what? Mutaghayyir, if I remember correctly, last semester we got this word. Mutaghayyir is the word for variables, isn't it? Okay. And what is then, you know, when we are studying variables, we also know that there is something called constant. And what is constant? Constants thabit, yes, of course, yes. So I mean, here if we discuss, it will be very clear. Variables and constant are opposite. Variables keep changing, constant will not change. For example, if I say that I am selling Pepsi, Diet Pepsi, there is a product Diet Pepsi, and there is a Pepsi, say 7-Up, the same Pepsi product. This one, you know, if I sell one bottle, I get 1 real, and if I sell one bottle of 7-Up, I get 0.5 Saudi Riyal. This is not going to change. It will remain the same whether I sell 100 bottles or I sell 1 million bottles. My per unit sale price remain the same, 1 real, and for 7-Up it remains the same, 0.5 real. So what is it? It is a constant, it doesn't change. Okay, so there will be constant and there are variables. What can change? So if Pepsi wants to know how to increase the profit, what should it work on? In the number of bottles it is selling. The number of bottles goes up, the profit will go up. If it wants to change the price, it cannot. So one thing which cannot be changed is called constant, and in OR we call it parameters. Okay, you read it yourself also and it will be clear to you. I discussed it in the previous slide only. Constant is fixed. Who gives you the, like in the management science area, we may be a specialist of management science. Now we will get the parameters from the company. They will tell us, Pepsi will tell us that Pepsi, Diet Pepsi is 1 and 7 is 0.5. Now you have to calculate and tell me how many of Diet Pepsi and how many of 7-Up I should sell, X and Y. So clear, this is constant or parameter and these are variables. And what is the objective? Objective is profit. Okay, I mean, let's just finish here. I think it's too much of time. We will discuss the rest of the things in the next class. We will stop here. I'll take it from here to the next one. We will stop here because it's too much for you. So we stop here. I stop the recording now.